I think it's so important to have for kids and students to have good teachers that brings energy and makes it desirable for students to actually learn, because I remember when I went to school, I had a hard time sitting down and listening to the teachers always. So, I guess right off the bat, could you give a brief introduction to who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I teach at Biola University, which is in Los Angeles County in California. And my job is a part-time math teacher. Sometimes I teach computer science. My full-time job is working in the Office of Digital Learning. So we put classes online for the university. But this one class that the video is from is a large mathematics class for humanities majors. So it's kind of like a intro to mathematics and even the history of mathematics and how philosophy and even theology and probability of statistics, algebra, a bunch of different ideas of mathematics. And so I got to keep it lively, got to make it interesting. And so I try to do lots of different things to make it an interesting class. And starting in 2009, I think, 2010, I started doing April Fool's jokes. It's not really a prank in the sense of, doing something like a prank, but it's more just like a visually interesting little
Mm,
trick, I guess would be the way to put it. But
yeah,
yeah, so I've done those for several years.
that's amazing. Did you have a teacher when you went to school that kind of pulled off the same things, did April Fool's jokes on you in school?
No, I never had a teacher who did that kind of thing. I've had many good teachers through the years, and the thing that I took from those teachers is just to have a passion for what they're learning or for what we are learning. And so if the teacher is not excited about what they're teaching, then it's hard to get the students excited about it. And so I did take that from many of my teachers growing up. Yeah, I think any subject can be made interesting, and so if I, I suppose that I would say that most people who think that they're not good at mathematics or don't like mathematics, it's probably some teacher's fault somewhere along the way that made it seem boring. And vice versa, I'd say most people who do like mathematics or science or history or whatever subject, it's often because they had a teacher who conveyed that interest and that passion for the subject, and that's what gets students excited. And not just students. I think anybody, even if you're out of school, you can take time to learn things, expose yourself to new ideas, keep learning, even if you aren't a student formally.
I agree 100%. I remember history specifically was one of those subjects that I hated in school, and looking back at it, it was probably because I the teacher was really boring, and we would just read and read and read in class instead of doing practical things, I guess. And it's so interesting because nowadays, like a few years out of school, history is something I'm so fascinated by all of a sudden. So it's definitely so important to have an exciting teacher that makes it desirable for students to learn.
Yeah, and I feel like the same way about history now also. And it's because I had a good history teacher in 11th grade who really told history as a story, and that's kind of what it is. Basically, it's just interesting stories.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could imagine if I had a teacher who's like really living themselves into the stories and telling, uh, instead of we just reading from a book. I mean, I think I would probably be excited about history a lot earlier.